That's James's deck dinner for today. It's a salad with celery, cucumber, um, tomatoes and stuff, and the pineapple, and then yams, salmon, rice, and carrots. And I'm having soup, so I just added some broth and some peas to mine, and some garlic and pepper and salt. And James is going to talk about the origins of hip hop.
Ooh, yeah.
And then he's going to talk about this. He started talking about it a little bit yesterday.
It's very
And so I guess you can just go ahead, James.
well. Maybe you saw a bit of that hip hop thing. Have you got a few thoughts to start us off with? It would be awesome. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I didn't expect to watch it at all. Because honestly, I don't like hip hop music. And
sacrilege. Go ahead.
And well, I don't tend to like rock music or any kind of popular music, honestly. So, and I guess really I like singing my own songs.
So much better than hip hop and pretty well anything else out there.
I don't know why more people don't just sing their own songs rather than outsource that. Why outsource fun? I don't get it. Anyway, but a lot of people outsource sports and all sorts of things. I don't get it. You know, if you like sports, go play sports. I don't understand. But anyway, origins of hip hop. It was put out by A&E, and they did a great job.
Arts and entertainment.
Yeah, and like from what I saw, I hadn't. A lot of these people hadn't really even made my radar. I've heard of a few that weren't on there too.
Oh, but, tons.
Yeah, like
tons of folks didn't make them.
I don't understand what. Like I can understand why they wanted to feature a woman. Why Eve?
Eve. Yeah,
why her?
I hadn't heard of her, maybe.
Like, I guess she was talking about how Salt and Pepper were her influences, and it's like, yeah, even I'll have to admit that when I was a teenager, I don't know, what was I, 12 or 10 or something when that came out? I don't know.
You'd heard of Salt and Pepper. I even own a Salt and Pepper album.
Yeah, well, I bought the tape. And back then.
Yeah.
It was the one with Push It, and the rest of the tape sucked. So that was the only good song on there, and it's not even that good. So, I don't know. Anyway.
Talking about her influences, it was Salt and Pepper, Queen Latifah, and
where was she?
MC Lyte.
I mean, Queen Latifah. Awesome.
I've even seen her acting, and
she does a good job acting.
Reasonably good acting. Yeah. So, I was wondering where Two Live Crew is. I'm such a babe in the woods at 68 and a half years old that I didn't know that Uncle Luke was a member of, he was like their MC for Two Live Crew. So
I didn't know that. So I guess they sort of featured them.
They sort of featured them. Well, yeah.
Anyway.
And so they had Grandmaster Flash. I can remember hearing about him today. Lil Jon. Lil Jon, pronounced somewhat differently, is the big hero. No, the big guy in Robin Hood's crew, a different kind of crew, you know. And and I hadn't heard of. I don't think I'd even heard of. What was his name? Fat Joe. So I don't know. Who group did he belong to? I can't remember. Anyway,
I think with that, like, I can understand them wanting to feature a woman. Eve would not have been my pick.
No.
Definitely I would have said Salt and Pepper. And then
Queen Latifah.
And then Eve.
And then maybe someone else.
But I think with Fat Joe, I think he seemed Puerto Rican or something. I think they just wanted to feature a Puerto Rican guy, honestly.
Well, with Two Live Crew, like to have a guy that was at least part Oriental, right? East Asian or whatever the buzz term that is now. They didn't have any whiteys, so no Eminem. Of course, he wasn't one of the originals.
No, I wouldn't. put him on.
Vanilla Ice was pretty early.
Yeah, actually he was. So anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, people find him funny, but I don't think he's any more funny, you know, than pretty well any of these guys. Ice-T seems to have a little bit of lyric talent.
Yeah, but you were pointing. James watched some of it even twice so far.
Oh, I watched
But-
all of Ice-T's
Yeah,
through.
because his
twice.
was worth watching twice actually.
No, kind of, sort of. Believe me. Well, you don't have to believe me. I don't care. But
Yeah, watch it.
the show is more interesting than the music. They don't have much music. That's why it's kind of endurable.
Yeah. I mean, there was one point when Ice-T was talking about, somebody asked him, or somebody said to him, or something anyway, he was talking to somebody was interviewing him, I think, and said something like, if your music didn't have all the aggression or something like that, then it wouldn't be popular, or do you think it would be popular if it didn't have, or whatever, right? And he was like, that's like saying that Rembrandt wouldn't have been popular if he didn't have nudes, if he didn't do nudes.
I think
and
he
James
meant
was like-
Rubens.
yeah,
Rubens had
James-
all the buxom babes, and you know, there's a lot of pink tones in his things. But maybe Rembrandt did some nudes somewhere along the line. He did a lot of paintings. The Night Watch doesn't have nudes in it. Man. All the self-portraits, thank heavens, they weren't done in the nude.
yeah.
So, I mean, yeah. So he gets a chance to, you know, display his innocence. Big trouble is, I don't know when this thing was put out. They were showing, you know, like they were showing people masking. So it would have been the last 2-3 years. So
Well,
the guys.
they were showing the Black Lives Matter stuff, so they were kind of making Ice-T out like some sort of hero.
Oh God.
Because he plays a TV police officer now.
Well, it was mainly because he sang "Cop Killer." You know,
Yeah.
the Cop Killer does not help out the cause of black folks.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't make cops any less difficult to deal with or whatever. It just might make them a little the other way.
Well, yeah. Well, it's not even a matter of how the police will react to such a song. It's how the population at large will
In the
react
long
to
run,
such a song, right?
that's
I know.
what matters.
Yeah, but I'm all for free speech, so
Mhm.
bring it on if you want to.
Yeah, exactly
But
right. But
Just
you don't want to
You
in the
open
long
a
run.
door,
Yep.
and you can't complain about what comes through, because the door opens both ways. That's all.
Yeah, so, you know, well, you know, like, it might be, like Mick Jagger said when he was watching, for the first time, I guess, the movie Gimme Shelter. They were filming him watching the film. And he said, this was with reference to a guy called Meredith Hunter. Oh yeah, now that I think about it, he was black. Back when they called people black. And Meredith Hunter was being hassled, probably really in a really bad fashion by the Hells Angels handling security for Rolling Stones' Altamont concert. It was supposed to be an answer to Woodstock, and boy was it. Woodstock was supposed to be about peace, love, and flowers. There were a lot of rapes that happened there. I suspect there were a lot of rapes happening there. But it was kind of like the other side of the coin to Woodstock, at least in I don't know, folklore or something. So Meredith Hunter was getting hassled. He had a white girlfriend. Jeez, you know, like, I don't know what the Rolling Stones were doing, getting Hells Angels to run security for them. I gather it was for a keg or so of beer. That's what they hired him for. And Mick Jagger's probably pretty cheap. He didn't go to the London School of Economics for nothing. He might have even had a scholarship of some description. And this is before the Rolling Stones took off. Downhill, rolling downhill. Downhill all the way ever since. Well, since 1969. And so Meredith is getting hassled. He's wearing this big, it's just big, it looks like a Mad Hatter's cap. You know how the Mad Hatter has that top hat? He's got this big hat. As I recall, it's green. He's in green. It's just, wow. He looks like Kermit the Frog or something like that, gone wild. So it's just drawing attention. I understand, like people of mixed colors should be able to go to concerts, walk down the street or whatever without getting hassled. But he pulled a gun on the Angels, and the next thing you know, people are just scattering back. It's amazing. It's like watching the tide leaving before I have no idea. The tide leaving before a tidal wave. The tide deserting the beach. All these people are crowded up the stage. The next minute, they've just all backed away because the Hells Angels are wading into them, beating up this guy with leaded pool cues. And of course, they beat him to death. But Mick Jagger said, when you draw a gun, you open a door, and you have to accept whatever comes through that door. Now, what will happen with all this Black Lives Matter that's happening now? But it'll get worse. Well, it will be somewhat similar to what happened in 1968. Oh, like the Civil Rights Act. I was talking about this before. Gets passed. Blacks kind of have a little, especially in the South, have a little bit more access to voting. I mean, they basically didn't have voting rights when it came down to de facto law as opposed to de jure law. And look those things up in your Latin English dictionaries. Please get an education. You don't have to pay for it, really. There's books offered for free at little libraries and stuff like that all over the world. At least in North America. Get an education. And physicist Hawking and Mary Shredder, hilarious.
All right.
I can have it. I'm not done. I'm done eating.
So what happened is civil rights law gets passed. 64 LBJ, and the way the black community in general, there'd be all sorts of people, be wonderful people, Martin Luther King, the people that were trying to get things accomplished using peaceful marches. But holy smoke, 65 Watts riot. That's in the LA area. It's basically south and east of Los Angeles, strictly speaking. But it might as well be Los Angeles. 66 kind of, so they were burning, looting, vandalism, violence. How many people got killed in those riots? I think it was like 56 people or something like that. It's serious stuff. It's nothing to laugh about. 66, relatively quiet. And 67, Gordon Lightfoot, a Canadian, wrote about what happened, I think, in Detroit. Black Day in July. He's making a pun on black, maybe a little bit culturally insensitive, I don't know. And so that was about the 67 riots. And then 68, like Martin Luther King got assassinated. And when one of your leaders gets assassinated, you don't have the right to go around plundering, looting, burning, especially when you're having a race riot and you're selectively hitting white stores and stuff like that, or non-black stores. Nowadays it would be Korean and stuff like that. Back then, it might have been Jewish as much as anything else. Not white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. So what happens? You know, like I was mentioning, you know, like a big hero for the white community. Much of it, RFK gets taken down by a Palestinian. They called him a Jordanian. I don't know. Maybe some Palestinians got hassled. I don't think people made much of a fuss or anything like that. There was a lot of mourning. The thing to do was mourn and move on. That what happened with RFK was affected things way more than Martin Luther King dying, because Martin Luther King didn't have to be elected. He could be replaced by Ralph Abernathy, ultimately Jesse Jackson. There are all sorts of people waiting to win. I think both of those guys were there on the hotel, not so much a deck, balcony, where Martin Luther King got shot. They're already there. RFK, he was, unless something really weird happened, you know, like a huge scandal. He didn't have scandals then, like you can get them now. The press was a lot more quiescent than it is now. He would have won that election in '68. You know, and that's because George Wallace was extremely right-wing and a real racist, not racially prejudiced, but real racist. And meaning inflation has hit that term racist so bad you can get a joke in a politically incorrect dictionary where under racist they've just got racist, I disagree with you. They should have put man after. I disagree with you, man. And it was a close vote. Nixon only won by 500,000 votes, and that's because you had a lot of lefties. Oh, you know, Robert Kennedy, bummer. He was killed by right-wing. Well, no, he wasn't killed by a right-winger. Bummer. They sat on their hands. I don't have to tell you where their thumbs were, but they were twiddling. Anyway, and both thumbs. Anyway, 500,000 votes. Nixon wins it. You know, like, but there was a strong right-wing vote because Wallace got lots of votes. Nixon got enough to win. Why was that? Why was there this voting? You know, the right wing didn't really hit back hard. In the South, there was all sorts, you know, in the 60s, there was bombings in Birmingham, stuff like that. But across the nation, they were sick. They were sick of stupid, dumb, well, not necessarily stupid, but really screwed up hippies and politicos on the left. And they were absolutely sick of African American violence. And they turned, and they will do it again. You don't think that Black Lives Matter had no effect on Trump getting elected? Wake up and smell the coffee, you stupid idiots.
Well, he didn't though. I mean, the United States now has a liberal president.
Just barely. That last election was close. It would have been close even without the cheating. And understand that's not cheating. There would have been some cheating, I suppose, on Biden's part, but there would have been massive cheating for Trump. The last election, 2020.
Now that I think about it, A&E might have put these guys together and not featured people like Queen Latifah or Salt and Pepper or the Beastie Boys or whatever, because maybe they didn't want to associate those people with these people.
Like Busta Rhymes?
Maybe.
It's possible.
I don't know.
Some of these guys were violent, you know, had violent imagery like Ice-T.
Well,
there's no Will Smith. You were talking about how there was no Will Smith there.
Yeah.
And he's pretty
because he made
vanilla.
rock music like G-rated for families. And I mean, he was, if you call Ice-T really successful in, you know, making it from rap music to TV, well, Will Smith is huge.
Way more success. He
Way,
made it in movies
way
when
more
movies
success.
actually mattered.
Yeah. And well, he's a better actor, honestly.
Yeah,
But-
way better.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's well. Does he write his own stuff? I don't know. Ice-T's a fairly good lyric.
Well, I was listening
I said
to
fairly
the
good.
stuff.
I wouldn't call him a poet necessarily. What was
I was listening to some of that stuff, and it wasn't too bad.
his stuff?
Yeah.
Fairly snappy, but
Yeah.
so most of the other stuff is just it's what's called hey yo doggerel. Dog spelled D-A-W-G and then a double G-E-R-A-L. Look that up in your funky language.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't really have more to say about this. I think Amy did a good job. It's
I
worth
will.
watching. I
Yeah,
didn't expect it to be at all. I mean, it's origins stories of these, I guess, famous people that I didn't know about for the most part. But
You'd heard of Buster Rhymes.
yes, and
I've
a lot
seen-
of the origin stories, these guys are not good people. They did bad things.
Ice-T was a horrible person.
So
He was bad criminal. Bad. Felonies, I assume.
So that's why I think, well, maybe the other people that weren't bad people didn't want to be associated with.
It's possible. The one that made me laugh was, there's this little idea that, oh man, they've got to do this to get out of the hood. They've been treated so bad. Hey, what's his name? Little John. Came from a house that I wouldn't have even dreamed of when I was a kid. I think his dad worked for, I think they said Lockheed or Lockheed Martin. I don't know if it's an aeronautic engineer. I don't know how he afforded
Yeah.
a house like that.
Well, his family,
His
I
mom
mean-
was a nurse.
yeah, but
When they
at
said,
least they were, they were contributing to society, and they.
well, the thing is, there's no excuse for him for this stuff.
I suppose that's
That's
true,
my point.
but
There's no excuse. When they were saying, when he was saying, I came from the southwest of Atlanta, I'm going, what? I kind of semi-unofficially majored in geography back in the day, and in the temperate zones, rich people, or better off people, live upwind, and that's in the northern hemisphere, temperate societies, temperate zone societies. That's to the west. To the west. So he's living to the southwest, presumably upwind. I'm going, what? He must have got that wrong. But no, he came from and then he said upper class family, upper middle class, and I'm going, he's got it. No, upper. They showed the place, palatial. Well, not really palatial, but upper middle class. But no excuse for him ending up going this route. Now, his stuff's pretty innocuous. It's like, he did advertisements, or something like, or okay, wow. Not quite the same thing as Cop Killer. And hey, if you're going to redo Cop Killer, Ice-T, the way you pronounce it, I don't care what, unless you come from Barbados or something like that, where they seem to accent last syllables, or Guyana, Caribbean general. It's Cop Killer. It's not Cop Killer. Then I'll be talking more about this because when Pauline's at the library, something like that, I'm going to watch I listened to the first 2 installments of this. I'm going to watch them, how gruesome will it be. Oh, Ja Rule. He looks like a kid with muscles. Oh, Ja Rule. So which ones? Oh yeah, I've got to find out who little Fat Joe is. Like what he looks like and what all his pals look like. And who was the other one? Excuse me. Buster Rhymes. I'm going to have to
Remember what he looks like?
Yeah, and what his pals look like, and so on and so forth.
A lot of these, I guess, really famous people, I didn't recognize them from anything.
No,
But that doesn't say anything about how famous. I'm sure they were really famous. It's just I missed it.
more maybe in the United States,
Maybe.
but I can remember seeing this stuff when. Like around 1990 when the stuff was breaking. I spent a lot of time. I can't remember what my shift was like. I think it was my shift ended. It'd be around 11 o'clock. I'd give the cops, and I worked at the cop shop. That wasn't my choice.
Another one I thought was interesting was the one where the guy was, what was his name? He was the DJ. I'll think of it in a minute. Something Flash.
Grandmaster Flash. Oh, he's.
And that was an interesting story because he totally got ripped off. But I mean, at the same time, you go, okay, well, sampling music really is that's what the record scratchers were doing, right? They're just, I mean, that was a way to do it back then. But I don't know. So I guess people could say, well. Or he might have been thinking, well, because I think he was saying he was the first to do it, so.
Oh, you mean the scratching?
Yeah.
Who cares?
So the DJ stuff and with the records and so he might have been thinking, well, is this even legal what I'm doing, right? And so maybe that's how he ended up getting ripped off by his producer. But she was, I mean, she was an African American woman, and that was an interesting story. So, yeah, definitely watch that episode or whatever of that Hip Hop Origins too, because that one was good.
How much time have we got?
Oh,
You have 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Enough time to give you a warning. I'll be doing Nelson A. Rockefeller sometime in the near future, or far future. And this is important stuff, okay? So I've already started you off on Sheldon Glashow and Genius TV series about Albert Einstein, young and old. And this is a book I'm going through. I want you to go through it too. This is your homework. How many pages? This is almost 1,000 pages, I think. I'll just check and see. So you know what you're faced with. I've started it already, but you guys are so sharp out there. You're sitting there thinking just how sharp you are.
well,
It's over 1,000 pages. Get ready. You gotta catch up with me, and I'm an old geezer. And a lot of you guys are young pups, younger than me, young enough to be my grandchildren. Definitely my children. So read this stuff here.
So the Chihuahuas were mad that I gave you that little bit of salmon that I gave you.
Yeah. So they're not going to get any.
Because they think that anything that they want to eat is theirs, right? And so if I give it to James, well, they get mad. Because he's eating
Revenge
something that
bowel
belongs
movements.
to them, apparently.
Have fun, folks.